Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Women Changing the World Press. Before we begin, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that we live and work on, the people of Mamu country in North Queensland. And I'd also like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders past and present right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Well, we are here celebrating the launch of Resilience and Reinvention, our latest book. And this book features 25 incredible women from all over the world. And today I have the wonderful honor of speaking with a few of them. And to begin, I would love to start by welcoming to the stage Mila. Please join us, Mila.
Hi, Peace.
Hi, Mila. It's wonderful to have you here. Now, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Sure. My name is Mila Rankin. I live in South Pasadena, California, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. I have been a marriage and family therapist for about the last 10 years, and I work with people who are going through all kinds of different transitions, depression and anxiety, and my hope is to use therapy as a way to provide inspiration for people to figure out how to take the next step and how to bring more peace into their lives. And yeah, it's a job that I love.
I love that, Mila. Now, Mila, your chapter is called Stopping for Signs. Can you tell us why you chose the title for your chapter?
Absolutely. So the book or the chapter is called Stopping for Signs. And the reason that I chose that title is that I think for all of us, there are signs everywhere to help guide us through difficult times, to make decisions, to push ourselves out of the comfort zone and to do things and recover from things that might be really difficult. And so I chose the name Stopping for Signs because in my life, I've been able to find and see in particular moments when there has been a sign or something that has happened, in one case, literally a sign, that has helped me move in a direction that I was having a hard time moving in. And it ended up being a huge blessing in my life.
I love that so much. Signs are so powerful. But do you think that we often ignore our intuition and we ignore those signs because we're too busy pushing forward and caught up in our busy lives?
Absolutely. I think that is, a problem for all of us. I think without exception, life expects us to be moving at such a fast rate. And there can be all kinds of signs that are telling us to slow down, to take another path. But we can get used to the chaos. We can get used to sometimes the physical pain. There's signs in our body that are telling us, okay, we need to slow down. We need to shift. We need to do something different. And so, yes, I think that is absolutely something that we do. And to really improve our lives and to have more peace in our lives, we need to slow down, take a look around, and see if we're missing some signs that might be making our lives and our health and our relationships more peaceful and fruitful.
Absolutely. So your chapter really explores awareness and reflection in such an honest way. Was there a moment that was a wake-up call for you or a turning point? Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah. There's one moment in particular that I write in the book about truly a sign that I stopped for. I had been going through a really difficult time in my life and ended up getting phenomenal therapy that really saved me from at one point thinking that life wasn't worth living. And I was so inspired by the work that she did that I thought, okay, I want to become a therapist. I want to be able to share my stories with people and really not even the stories, it's more the way you can work through them and come out the other side. But going back to graduate school was a difficult decision, and it was hard to get started. And so one day, it was the day before my first day of class, after stopping and starting many programs, and I was back at it again, and I was driving on a street that's my usual street, and I saw in the middle of the parkway a sign, a literal sign, and it's never been there before, that said, "Trust yourself." And I stopped, I pulled over. I was so shocked that I pulled out my phone and took a picture of it. And the moment, like seeing that sign, literal sign, like, this is a message for me. I need to trust myself. I need to go ahead and take this step. If it doesn't work out, that's okay, right? Like, we don't have to always, we don't have to predict the outcome, because we never know. And so that's an example of a sign that really changed my life. I became a therapist, and since that time, I can't believe the how my life has developed in such a beautiful way.
It's so incredible to get such a clear sign, because sometimes we're not getting signs that are that clear. Have there been times where your intuition has kind of told you that something wasn't right, but you ignored that and made the decision to do something that turned out to be the wrong decision later?
Absolutely. I can remember a time when I was making a decision for the rest of my life, which would be getting married. And there were a lot of signs that perhaps this wasn't the right relationship for me. But I ignored the signs. I pretended that they weren't there. I had this notion that, oh, I can, if I love hard enough, if I work hard enough, I will be able to make this relationship what I want it to be. And as time went on, 30 years, I came to realize that no, I really missed the signs in the beginning. Nothing had really changed. What had changed was me. And so I think sometimes that intuition, we want to ignore it because we want something so badly. And it's good to take a breath. It's good to take a breath and step back and really take inventory, because I think that can help you in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And then writing this chapter, how was this whole process for you? Did you find it emotional? Did you find it difficult? Did you find it healing? Did you
You
find it
know,
empowering? What was the experience for you?
oh my gosh, the experience was so much more than what I expected it would be. Um, it was everything. It was inspiring. It was difficult at times. It was really something out of my comfort zone. I love to write, but the thought of publishing something that I would write, especially something that's so intimate and personal, I was afraid to do it. And then I decided, well, I'm doing it anyway. And the thing that has been the most rewarding in this process is really meeting the other women and who also have written chapters, and seeing the common thread through all of us. Like, resiliency is like, to be resilient, you have to believe that there is redemption and there's reinvention, right? And that you can take something that's really difficult and turn it around and become a much stronger person, have a new perspective. So I think that's where the process of writing this chapter has been really a life-changing one for me.
Oh, I love hearing that this has been such a powerful and life-changing experience for you. What advice, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would you tell her?
Oh my gosh. I think I would tell her, don't take things so seriously, and relax, take a breath. Don't be afraid to fail. That each step we take leads us in a direction. there's no wrong direction. And I think I spent a lot of my life thinking there was one way of doing things, very rigid thinking, black and white thinking. And what I've realized, my adult self realizes, oh, that's so not true. There is not one right path. And so I think that probably could have saved me a lot of heartache over the years. But yeah, I think that's what I tell my younger self: enjoy life. Don't take it so seriously.
That is such beautiful advice. I absolutely love that. Well, Mila, it has just been such an honor collaborating with you on this book. And thank you so much for being here today for our chat. And yeah, thank you for being here, being part of this.
Peace, thank you so much. This has been such a joy, and I've really enjoyed talking to you today. And just thank you for everything.
Oh, thanks so much, Mila.
Take good care.
Thank you. Well, now it is my great pleasure to introduce our next author to you. Please join me in welcoming Ellie Tahar.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, Ellie. So, Ellie, I'd love to start by asking you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Okay. My name is Ellie Tahar, and I'm living here in just outside of Auckland, New Zealand. I'm originally from the US and ended up marrying a Kiwi. So I've been here for a very long time. New Zealand has this really close connection to Nepal because Edmund Hillary was the first to summit. And we had done some family trips to Nepal, and I always loved the people. And then during lockdown, I had been in the corporate world. And of course, we were all just sort of locked down with our keyboards. And I started thinking about how could I create something outside of the corporate world, and then was able to get to Kathmandu and connect with some of the people there. And we thought about could we manufacture some products and then get them onto e-commerce platforms in the US. And that was such a steep learning curve. But the timing was really good because the whole e-commerce ordering online exploded during that COVID period. So I always thought if I could sell just one product, I would be a success because, as I said, it was such a huge learning curve for me. And then we started selling more and more. And the proceeds from our sales go back to Nepal, and they send disadvantaged children to better schools, usually schools where English is taught, which is a game changer for a child in a third world, non-English speaking country.
It's such incredible work that you do and really is changing lives. Now, the title of your chapter is The Best Is Yet to Come. Such a great title.
Well,
can you tell us why you chose that title for your chapter?
Well, the best is yet to come because I'm meeting people like you and Katie and having these incredible opportunities. And I think I was just listening to the previous author, what would we change if we could sort of go back to our younger selves? And I think so many of us keep thinking, imposter syndrome, or I'm not good enough, or I have nothing to say, or nobody will be interested. And it took me a very long time to start to think, like, who are the they? Who are these they people? And it's, so it's really just a matter of jumping in as quickly as we can and not worrying too much about consequences. I think we're so programmed that we have to write the next great American, the next great Australian, New Zealand novel. Let's just write.
Yes, I love that. Let's just write. It's important. And your chapter really speaks to growth and possibility. Looking back, do you think optimism is something that just came naturally to you, or is this something that you've developed over time?
I think, I did change countries. I came to New Zealand. I was a young mother. So it was, we speak English here, but it's kind of a different kind of English. There's British English, American English, Australian English. And so it was a big change for me to come here as a young mother, and I knew no one except my husband, and his family lives distantly, so it's not like I was, connecting with them. And I think it's a commitment, and you have to make a choice. I can really commit to making this work, or I can just, complain about things. And I certainly was homesick in those early days. But you start meeting people, and I think when your children are young, this is a great time to meet other mothers and then realize, gosh, we all have the same challenges. So I think it was a conscious choice on my part to think I'm going to really try and make this work. And of course, optimism has to be a part of that.
Yes, absolutely. So I think many women worry that it's too late. In particular, like it's too late to change careers now or start again or dream bigger. What would you say to somebody who was thinking that it was too late for them to start something new?
I just think, I remember meeting, I think he was the CEO of Dove, the Dove products. He was in his 80s. I couldn't believe this man. He jumped out of a sports car and he looked young and virile, and had a great tan and great clothes. And now we have so many wonderful role models. I think of someone like Jane Fonda, who's in her 80s. And there's this definite idea, just keep going. We live in this youth-oriented culture. And I think any of us that have half a brain can see beyond that it's never too late to start anything. And my husband was just talking to a woman that she just finished medical school and she's 70. And yes, she may have 10, possibly 15 years of practice that would have been denied to her if she had thought it's just too late.
That's incredibly inspiring. Yeah, that's amazing. She's just getting started.
She's getting started, and yeah.
So you're writing a chapter like this does involve a lot of reflection and looking back over your life. How did you find this process? Did you find it confronting or healing or empowering? What was the experience like for you?
I think initially, like, terrifying. I mean, it's so silly because I enjoy people. I enjoy talking to people. I've traveled a lot. But the thought of getting something on paper and putting it out there, and now I look back and I think it was so silly because from that chapter, I connected with another group. And so I'm now writing a full-fledged book. And it's a wonderful writing group, and we're been told that the commitment is to sit down and write 1,000 words a day. And that might seem really daunting, but I'm telling you, once you commit, you just cannot not do it. And so I will be forever grateful that the chapter kind of opened so many doors for me, internal doors that I thought were shut, or there was a lot of resistance, or I didn't want to go through. So it was just one of the best experiences I've ever had, and I'm so grateful.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. Thank you. So was there a season in your life where things felt uncertain or difficult, but later became an important turning point for you? Can you tell us about this?
Yes, I think it was when I immigrated here to New Zealand, and I was, trying to see how I fit into this culture. Yeah, I mean, we live outside of Auckland, and when my kids went to a little country school, they didn't wear shoes. And my family in America thought, why aren't they wearing shoes? I mean, there were just funny things that that I had to really kind of reconcile that, I mean, things like that really don't matter. So there were, and it was almost a surreal disconnect between the news that we were getting, as I said, you know, small town, Chihuahua, dog lost, you know, kind of thing. And I'd be like, oh my goodness, like, where do I live? So there was this reconciliation with that where I was living and the people, and trying to fit in. And my children were little. We were trying to build up. We have a medical practice, and I was trying to build up a business, and there were lots of moving parts. And I look back at that and I think, you know, life just kind of throws us curveballs sometimes, and we just have to deal with stuff. And it's the stuff that we think is so difficult that really makes us resilient. And if we don't have that pushback from life, I think we kind of turn out being a little wimpy.
I think so too. I think it's a really important part of the journey. Well, thank you so much, Ellie. It's been so wonderful collaborating with you on this book, and wonderful chatting with you today as well.
Oh, and Peace, you are really something else. I just have so much respect for you. The work you do, I mean, your energy knows no bounds.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellie. I just really love that I get to work with people like you every day. It really is
Oh,
such an
thank
honor.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. I'd now like to welcome our next author to the stage. Please join me in welcoming Comfort Dondo. Hello, Comfort.
Hello.
Hi. So, Comfort, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do. Comfort, can you hear me? Okay, I think we have a tech issue with Comfort, so we might go to our next author and we'll come back to Comfort shortly. So please join me in welcoming Emma Sheth. Hi, Emma, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yes, I'm really good. So Emma, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
So, yeah, my name's Emma. I'm based here in Australia. I'm a multiple business owner, bit of a serial entrepreneur, and I'm also a mum of two little girls. So I'm starting to get this balancing act really down pat. But essentially, I've built and grown multiple businesses across hospitality, retail, service industries. Um, but I guess outside of that, over the years and kind of growing these different businesses, my real passion has kind of fallen into leadership, personal growth, and I guess this internal evolution that happens alongside business success and just life in general. Um, so now I kind of have this focus on, again, outside of like bigger picture growing the businesses, kind of showing women and helping women understand that ambition and softness can coexist together, and that you can grow, lead, and build without losing yourself in who you are in that process.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And it's so true that we can show up and be leaders and run businesses, but we don't have to take on that masculine energy. We can
Yeah,
inhabit
yeah.
softness. Your title really captures the idea that growth isn't always easy or instant. What does the version of me that I had to grow into mean to you?
Um, for me, it was about this internal evolution, growing into something that maybe I didn't think I was necessarily ready for. So, talks a lot about how I spent quite a lot of time equating having control and being able to control every variable, how I equated that with strength, and how I really prepare, and I often find myself bracing for impact, and talks about this shift towards that, but shifting more into like trusting and this steadiness and leading without always bracing for that impact. Like sometimes you just need to let go. Um, and I think through business, motherhood, marriage, partnership, it's really a story about learning that the resilience doesn't need to look loud. And sometimes it's just about becoming steady in who you are. And that was something I wasn't necessarily ready for, but it was something that life threw at me. And that was, I had to grow into that version of me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds like it's been quite a process of growth. Looking back,
Yeah.
was there a particular experience or season of life that changed you the most?
I think, and I talk about it in the chapter, I went into this corporate role in this company that didn't, I guess, value the same leadership values that I had. I lead with heart and compassion and people first, and that was either going to make or break who I was to become. I could have either gone with that, been that person, or I was going to do it differently and I was going to think outside the box and um, be somebody different. And that was kind of the turning point in who I was going to become as a leader. Um, and like, all I wanted to do was run away as fast as I could. I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to do it differently. I did stick it out, and it taught me so much, because I didn't conform to those values. I did it my way. I led the way that I felt was who I needed to be, and I kept true to myself. And it really set me up. It changed my team. It changed my part of the company, and it set me up to do that successfully in business. So once we had our own businesses and we had teams, that was how I continued my trajectory of leadership. Um, and I think it's set us up for some really great teams now, and that's values that we now instill in all of our companies now around people first and leading with heart. And that was kind of that moment where becoming a leader, you kind of model off what you're shown, and that was a moment where I was either going to be this type of leader or I was going to be this type of leader, and I knew what I didn't want to be.
That's a pretty powerful story and sounds like such a big turning point for you. I think that many
Yeah.
women feel pressure to have everything figured out. Did you ever struggle with feeling like you weren't there yet or you weren't enough as you were in your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I still do. And I probably will for the rest of my life. I don't think I'll ever be necessarily satisfied with where I'm at. You always want to keep pushing and keep striving, but I'm also now really hyper aware of that. So it's this constant reminding myself that, you are enough. If this is all you do, that's enough. It won't be, but it is a constant reminder that it is. But it's definitely something I struggled with, probably coming up in that environment that I was talking about earlier, where there was this pressure to change, and just really going, no, you've got this, you're doing it right, you are enough to be here. But yeah, it's something I think I struggle with most days, even still.
Yeah. So, Emma, if readers take up one thing away from your chapter, what do you hope it is?
I think it's probably redefining what you think resilience is. It's not always about being being strong and being super prepared and trying to cover all the variables. I really just want people to, I guess, if you're a little bit like me and control is in your nature and you feel like you do need to control it, that you can be resilient and stay steady without hardening, and to grow without shrinking yourself, I think is probably the biggest thing. Because like you said, I think particularly as women, we do sometimes think we need to be harder, be more powerful, take on that more masculine energy, particularly. And, some of my services are in like a more male dominated industry. So, still staying true to yourself in that process without shrinking. And that maybe resilience is a little bit quieter than you imagined it to be.
I love that. That's such great advice. Well, thank you so much, Emma. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you, collaborating with you on this book, and I've really enjoyed chatting with you today as well.
No, it's been amazing. Thank you so much, Peace.
Thanks, Emma. All right. Well, I would now like to welcome once again Comfort Dondo. Please join me on stage, Comfort. Hello, Comfort. How are you?
Hello, Pete.
We can hear you. Wonderful.
Great. My apologies for the glitch earlier. How are you?
I'm good. So, Comfort, we would love to start by asking you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Thank you. My name is Comfort Dando, and I am the founding executive director of an organization called Pumalani, Minnesota African Women Against Violence. The work that we do is really centered on healing the root cause of trauma for African survivors of domestic violence in the US and also in Africa. I have a led organization that was started by myself as a survivor.
It's such powerful work that you do, Comfort, in helping these women. Your chapter is called "The Day My Body Said What My Spirit Already Knew." Can you tell us why you chose this title for your chapter?
Thank you so much, Peace. So I chose this title in honor of the women that I actually work with. There's a lot of times where you have a lot of red flags in your path, in your relationships, in your interactions, your intuition, some call it, your third eye, some call it. In the spiritual space, they call it the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God. When you just have a knowing that something is off, but then you discount it. So I named this chapter to remind a lot of women to tap into that which does not sit right, that which makes your stomach turn, that your spirit already knows when something is off. And then your body also knows because it tells you. And then when we ignore both, that is how I ended up in the situation that I was in. So that is how I ended up with that chapter piece.
It's so powerful, Comfort. Your chapter really speaks to that connection between physical health and your emotional well-being. Can you tell us about a time where your body was telling you that you needed to listen and pay attention?
Absolutely. I think I'll take an excerpt from this particular chapter. I was actually in Zimbabwe when without spoiling it, right? I was in Zimbabwe when this chapter I had taken time away from work because I had been working a lot, and it was an intentional journey to go back home to actually rest. And so my body was telling me I needed to rest. But at the same time, my body that there were some things I needed to change in my proximity, in my environment, in terms of relationships and or the people that were in my surroundings. But I was paying attention to the work part, but I was having a harder time paying attention to the interpersonal part. And that was the part that then came in through with what has happened in this chapter that actually caused the stroke. But I believe that it was a combination. It was a combination of both my work, my workload, being burned out, and also what was happening in my personal life.
That's that's so interesting that your body reacted in such a powerful and physical way. I think many women become very skilled at carrying stress, pressure, and responsibility. Why do you think we wait until our bodies force us to pay attention?
I think, Piers, I think if I look at this last week, I got a call that would totally change the whole year and really change my path. I got a call, son passed on, tragic drowning accident. Everything anymore in that moment. Not work, not schedule, not anything on my calendar. I just knew I needed to go and be with my sister. I think we wait so long because we prioritize the wrong things. We prioritize work, we prioritize the success, we prioritize the other, external accomplishments that other people would call maybe vain. We prioritize those things because that is the world that we live in. But when a moment like a call that happened to me last week with a child that I love that just lost his life, that I needed to be there for his mom, nothing else mattered. So I think as women, what I've seen is that we wait a lot because of our priorities. And if we really sat and reevaluated what is really important, we would not wait. Sometimes I think we also wait a lot because we think we have a lot of time. There's a concept, there's a notion that, I have time, we have time. But the real truth is sometimes we really don't know time. Only time tells how much time we have. I've had women who've waited, I'll wait until after my children graduate. Like the women that I work with, I'm going to wait until my children graduate from college. I will leave this relationship after my kids are done with college. Then I know they're sad. But some of those women have not made it alive out of that relationship. So there's a concept of waiting for something, waiting to be happy, waiting to start to write that book. We're always waiting for something. And yet, I think it's really important for us to understand sometimes the urgency of just doing it in the now. So yeah, that's I think that's been my reflection piece from just this season of what's happening in my own personal life.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that news, Comfort. That's such devastating news. But I think you're right that we don't always prioritize ourselves and our personal needs, and we keep pushing through. What advice would you give to your younger self about listening and paying attention to those kind of your body and what it's telling you?
Oh, my younger self, and I hope that all the sisters listening on this platform, all the beautiful women that we got to connect with, and any younger women listening to this, I would say to you, I would say to her, you're always guided. You are always guided. Your spirit man, your soul, your spirit man knows. Your spirit man goes to the future. Your spirit man is omnipresent. It is everywhere. It is so knowledgeable. You're always guided. I would advise my younger self to listen and understand that you're always guided. Never discount those dreams. Listen to your dreams. Write a lot when you get up in the morning. Understand that your path is already guided and there's no need for you to suffer. Understand that suffering is not by design. It is not natural. So whenever there's suffering, understand that there's always paths to ease that suffering. And I would say when something doesn't feel right, it is because it is not right. Because where things are right and where there is true love and light, there's always peace. So when you feel some lack of peace, when you feel an unsettling in you, assess that and remember that you're always guided, and never, never, ever discount that discomfort, because it is a message. Your soul is so intelligent that it gives you messages. That is what I would give to my younger self. Yeah.
I love that. I love that wisdom and advice that you would give yourself. That's really beautiful, Comfort. Well, thank you so much. It's just been such an honor collaborating with you on this book. And I've really enjoyed talking with you today as well. Thank you so much, Comfort.
Thank you. Thank you for everything, Peace. And I'm looking forward to more collaborations in the near future.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Comfort. Well, I'd now like to welcome our next guest, Ashley Mansfield. Please join me on stage.
Hi, Peace.
Hi, Ashley. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. Now, Ashley, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, first and foremost. So, my name is Ashley Mansfield, and I am living in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada. And I am a mother to an incredible young daughter who is 20 and is also here in Vancouver with me, attending the University of British Columbia. Now 4 or 5 years ago, I made a transition out of a long time corporate job where I ran an internal creative agency and had a large team, and it was an incredible job. I worked with wonderful people. I learned so much. I traveled all over the world, and yet I was ready for the next thing, and so I'm in the midst of creating, as we always are, right? The next chapter of my life. I am speaking on resilience, on reinvention. I really target my energy towards women. It's been a lifelong passion to be of service to women, to be in community with women. I deeply value sisterhood. I'm writing. I went back to school. I'm in what I would call just a creation phase, and it's a really joyous place to be.
I love that. It does sound like a really joyous place to be. So, Ashley, your chapter is called Letting Loss Lead, an essay on leaving, listening, and landing. Can you tell us why you chose this title for your chapter?
Sure. Well, I've suffered a fair amount of loss, like most of us, and I think coming from such a heavy few years of loss, very intimate loss, both of my parents passed. I was the primary caretaker to my mom, and I lost another 2 friends shortly thereafter. And as I've been in this space of reflecting and rebuilding and, kind of dismantling everything I built, everything I believed, I really started to reflect and look back on my life and see that essentially each decade of my life had been marked by some significant loss, whether it was chosen or or whether it happened and it was outside of my control. And so it was a really beautiful opportunity in writing this essay to reflect on how those losses, whether chosen or unchosen, have given me opportunities that I may not have seen as quickly or so clearly or seen at all. And so that's really the nature of the essay and what drove it.
So Ashley, your chapter really explores so many different forms of loss and reinvention. Looking back, do you think there's been some big lessons that you've learned along the way? And can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, thank you, Peace. And this is my little puppy here, if you're you're wondering. So joy and love is ever present with us all. You know, what's been interesting for me, what really stands out in your question right now in this moment, is the experiences I've had in, let's call it, the last couple months since writing the essay. It's been fascinating I have now been in Vancouver for 9 months. And so my essay kind of ends with my arrival here. And to reflect on the things that have transpired in these 9 months. I just returned back from California. I emptied my 3,000 square foot house. I sold off everything that I have. And so I think what's really pronounced for me is how the evolution just continues. Some layers fall away, others are added, clarity, just the dimension that life offers. And so I'm so grateful to have, anything that we write or put out into the world, it happens in that moment when we do it, right? And so to have shared these words both with myself to see what came forward and to share my story with the world, and then have the opportunity for that to keep developing and reflect back on the things that I wrote and how things have shifted, and more aha moments and more depth has just been such a joyous gift. And just the act of not attaching to anything, that's just continually what's driven home for me. There's no point in attaching to anything or holding anything too tight.
That's amazing. It feels like this whole writing experience has been huge for you as well. And there's been lessons from this experience too, of writing your story. Did you have breakthroughs during the writing process? Did you find it healing? What was the experience like for you of writing this chapter?
Yeah. Well, I loved the process. I was so moved by it. I wrote my pitch, and that was the idea that I had. However, I think, like most creative endeavors, you don't know what's going to come forward until you begin. And so I was surprised by how it took shape, and it did so slowly over time, and just giving it space to breathe. And I knew when something really felt right because of my somatic reaction to it, and I knew where things needed a little bit more work. And so yes, there were absolutely some revelations in the writing process. I had to revisit to the death of my mother, and the truth was I hadn't had or taken the time to reflect on it in a way that kind of emerged as it did through writing. I had journaled, but it was different. It was a different process. And so it was beautiful. I really feel deep gratitude. I felt it in the moment. I feel it now. It helped me to reconcile and get clear on some things, and it also allowed me to kind of move into the presence in a more powerful and empowered way.
I love that this process has been so powerful for you. I really feel that, transformation that you've had. You talk about your daughter in your chapter and motherhood and how that has been such a big presence in your life. Can you tell us more about this and about how motherhood has changed how you see things?
Absolutely. Gosh, and my mind is pinging in a gazillion different directions right now. You're hitting on something so close to my heart. So I think about when I had my former job and just being a leader to what was predominantly a team of women. And I went through 22 pregnancies on the team, not my own, on the women on my team. And each time they were, they were nervous about being away, what that would mean for their careers, all of the things. And I was very authentically able to reassure them that it was going to be fine. And actually, it was just going to make them better at their jobs. And of course, they couldn't fully understand that in the moment and probably thought they were just like really kind words that I was sharing back to them. But the reality is, it's true. You get so much more calculated with your time, and you prioritize in a different way. And it's such an incredible enhancement to the bright creatures that we already are. So that's one thing that comes to mind. And then the second thing that I'd just love to comment on is, just a week or two ago, I was with my daughter and we had dinner. And I sat and I listened to her, and we're in the midst of a relational renovation, as I call it. And I did a research study on this because I recently went back to school. And it was so beautiful to sit on the other side and imbibe her stories and just be in awe of this creature that is forging her own way. And I almost felt like the child. I was just watching her with such deep curiosity, and it just makes me so excited for all of the chapters to come. So thank you for asking. She's at the center of my world.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. I've just really enjoyed collaborating with you and our conversation today. I feel like I could have asked another 10 questions. So.
Thank you so much, Peace. Thank you for all of the incredible work that you and Katie do. And my love to Tara Rai. It's a full circle moment, and I look forward to collaborating more and hearing all of the other brilliant women's stories. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley.
Okay, take good care.
You too. Okay, I would now like to welcome our next guest, Wendy Newberger. Please make her very welcome.
Hi, Peace.
Hi, Wendy. How are you?
So nice to see you. I'm good.
Wendy, I'd love you to start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about you.
Okay. Well, I live in, upstate New York. At the moment, I am at our cottage in northern Pennsylvania on a lake. This is my happy place. And I'm semi-retired. I teach mindfulness and meditation as opportunities arise. I'm also a life coach. This is my third iteration of a career for myself, and that's what I write about in the chapter, is reinventing myself a number of times. So I worked in technology for 26 years, then I worked in higher education for 10 years, and this is where I'm at right now, and who knows what's happening next. We'll see.
And I love that so much. I love that you've had such very diverse and different
I have,
journeys
yeah.
through your career. It's really beautiful. And your chapter title is Follow Your Inner Guidance. Can you tell us about why you chose this title for your chapter?
Yeah, well, it chose me. Um, but as I started writing, I wanted to write about um, how I transitioned from childhood to young adulthood, where I think, like many people, I was checking the boxes, like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and kind of following the rules and what I was being told by other people that I needed to be doing in order to be successful and to have a happy life. And I realized pretty early on that I wanted to have fun, and I did not want to be in a situation that was making me miserable for any length of time if I could help it. And learning to trust that inner voice when it was time to move on, and not necessarily taking crazy risks, but taking calculated risks in order to move into a better space for me at that time in my life. And and really it was all about listening to my inner voice, following my inner guidance, noticing how things felt in my gut, in my stomach, and paying attention to that.
And has that skill, ability, talent to listen to your inner voice developed over time?
It has. I think what's happened more is my confidence in trusting it. And it really has to do with, like, trusting what I'm feeling. And I talk about a couple of instances of that in the chapter of, hearing. I like to say, there was one decision point that I had to make at one point in my life where I felt like I had, like, somebody sitting on one side of me going, oh boy, bigger, better, this is exciting. And then the other side was going, what are you talking about, girlfriend? And just sitting with something before I jump in and make a decision and saying, how is this feeling inside of me? Not what does it look like on paper? What are other people going to say about it? But what do I feel? Is this something I want to do? And trusting that. And I think that over time, the more I've done it, the easier it becomes and the more trustful I am in that inner guidance.
Yeah, that's amazing. What's really helped you to be able to tune into that inner voice? Have there been, like, rituals or things that you do that help you get quiet enough to hear that inner voice?
Well, giving away the end, like, I grew up, my dad's favorite expression growing up was, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And so that was sort of ingrained in the back of my mind. I didn't really fully embrace it until later in life. But I think one thing that really helped was developing my own mindfulness and meditation practice, and really tuning into how I'm feeling in my body, being grounded, being present, and noticing. You really have to kind of quiet out all of the noise that's around us all the time and be quiet to be able to notice, like, how does this really feel? And I had some wonderful mentors over the years who really helped me with that. But it's something everybody can do. It's just a matter of making it a priority and paying attention.
Yeah, it's so true. I think we get so caught up in our busy lives that we forget to slow down and take that time for mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Did writing this chapter give you any new perspective on your own journey? Tell us about the experience of writing this chapter.
Right. You know, I was, as you know, I was a little hesitant, and I have been told by multiple friends that I should write. And so it was something that I wanted to do, but I was nervous about it. But then when I sat down to do it, I was shocked at how easily it flowed. It just came out of me. It was like ready to be hatched, I guess. Um, and when I read it back, it made me feel proud. It made me feel like this is something that I want to share, because I've always been a very strong supporter of mentoring, and especially mentoring women. And if it makes me very happy to think that other women can read this and maybe get off that, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do the next thing, and checking all the boxes off and not checking in with themselves. And so hopefully it will accomplish that. And I look back and I'm proud of what I've done. I really am. And it wasn't always easy. And I had a lot of pushback from people who thought I was out of my mind for some of the choices that I made. But I don't regret them at all. You know, it's led me to where I am today.
Yes, I love that. I love that. It's led you to where you are today. Can you tell us about your definition of resilience, and has your idea of resilience changed over time?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I, honestly, I don't know if it's changed over time. I think, as I was saying before, I think I've just gotten more comfortable with being okay taking risks, and knowing that if I take a risk and it doesn't work out, I'll figure it out. I trust that. I trust that I have the skills and I have the strength to be able to change course as needed, and to pay attention. You know, as the wind starts to change, noticing what I'm feeling, noticing what's going on around me, and having the confidence to say, yeah, you know what, this isn't working anymore. I need to try something different.
I love that. Well, Wendy, it's been such an honor collaborating with you on this book, and I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to talk to you more about your chapter today.
It's great to see you, Peace, and I'm really excited for the book to come out. It's very exciting.
Oh,
So
thank you so
thank you
much.
so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks, Wendy.
Okay.
Okay, I would now like to welcome our next guest. Mandy, please join me on stage.
Hello, how are you, Peace?
I'm good, Mandy. It's wonderful to see you. Mandy, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Well, I'm an Aussie, hence, you know, the accent gives it away, and it stands out quite a bit where I'm currently living, which is Houston, Texas in the US. I moved here in just June of last year, and I have an Australian company. It's a small skincare brand. And without thinking about the fact that I might be living in another country, when I set that up about 3 years ago, I set it up so that everything could be done remotely, so that it was hands off. So I've got people that are working with me in Adelaide while I am here just dealing with, you know, the tech and communicating with them digitally. And I think one of my sort of goals this year, which really became very evident when I wrote the chapter for the book, was that I want to start talking to people more about skincare and the beauty industry, and the way the industry uses, I guess, emotional language and clever formulating to sell you something that perhaps might not be what you're looking for. And it's all across the industry, whether it's your traditional products or your natural products. I do love organics, but I know that natural and organic brands aren't always squeaky clean either when it comes to I guess how they market themselves. So yeah, I guess that's me in a nutshell.
I love that, Mandy, and you've created such an incredible brand. Your chapter is called The Girl at the Fence. Can you tell us why you chose this title for your chapter?
I had an experience when I was about 4 years old that I don't go into detail because that doesn't define me. What did define me for a long time was the decision I made as a young child, and that was I don't share, because that keeps me safe, everyone's happy, and I keep my environment, I guess, quite calm. And without really realizing it until I was in my sort of late teens, early 20s, I had built a personality around not sharing. So I became very good at talking to people and asking them questions about themselves, and then sort of nodding along and agreeing without even sharing what I thought on a particular topic. So that, yeah, the girl at the fence was that 4-year-old girl who basically stood in the backyard and felt a disconnection from my mother, from the world, and I felt really alone. And I think in life, when you realize that things have had an impact on you and how, you know, they have affected your life thus far, it's not like one moment, one thing that happens and suddenly you're cured. It's a process that stays with you throughout your life. And in the chapter, I start to talk about when I first started to unravel that when I think I was 26, like mid-20s. And then, you know, I'm now nearly 53. I'm 53 next month, and I'm still working on those things. But I guess being aware of it is the first step, and then being brave and making that decision that I am going to share. I'm going to start talking to all of you and, you know, get out there and I guess be a bit brave.
That's really powerful. First of all, being able to look back on your childhood and those kind of things and recognize what happened and then the impact that that's had. But then finding out ways of dealing with that and moving past that. And you have started showing up and sharing more and more. Can you tell us about this process, what that looks like for you, and whether it's been easy or hard, easier or harder than you expected it to be?
Yeah, it's been a bit of both. It's been easy and hard. I guess when I first started putting myself out there to the public, I had a little, I guess you call it my pet's Instagram account, and I would post on there every day and just see what worked, learnt about hashtags and just social media in general. And I at the time said to myself, you can always go back and delete it later if you hate it. So just get out there. And it was earlier this year, it was only in January this year, that I feel I really have started to put myself out there more publicly, you know, moving beyond just social media and writing a chapter for this book, and then coming along to Paris and giving it a keynote. And I've done a few podcasts and interviews, which has been amazing. And that turning point in January was an understanding that in order to be visible and put yourself out there, you have to be okay with maybe stuffing up or looking a bit silly. And that's okay, because we're human. And, you know, what's the worst that could happen? You trip over on stage. Well, then you just get back up and you keep going. It's not going to be the end of the world. And so that gave me, I guess, license in my own mind to be braver and, literally get up on stage in Paris and deliver my first ever keynote.
That was so amazing. And I feel so honored that I was able to be there and be part of that moment for you. But I'd been noticing you, I was kind of surprised that you hadn't been doing speaking before, because I'd noticed that you had become more and more visible on social media. You'd started doing daily videos. Can you tell us about this journey? Because I know that there's probably people watching who want to be more visible on social media, but don't know how to start, what to talk about, like are scared, are being held back in some way. Can you tell us about that journey of showing up consistently?
I a part of it is mindset, and part of it, as I said earlier, is if you look at it in 1 month or 6 months time and you cringe, you can delete it, and just making it a priority. So don't get to, almost the end of the day and think, oh my goodness, I haven't done a post. Make it a priority. Set aside maybe even an hour or 2 hours a day if you can. And that's if you're going to, do your research. What am I going to talk about? What topic am I going to cover? how does it fit in? Use ChatGPT to help you with that. You can put your ideas in and say, make this sound like a fabulous 1 minute speech, and it will take your thoughts and ideas and then put it in a format that is probably close to what you want to use. You always need to tweak it a little bit more, but I think AI can really help with that, especially if you train it to mimic your brand voice. And I'm sure that people can Google how to do that, but essentially one way is to have copies of your work and put it into chat and say, mimic this. And each time you take a script and then you change it, put it back in and say, you were close, but this is the final script. Remember these differences. So that has helped with the, just the time, like getting my thoughts out there. And then, okay, now I've got a script. Use an editing tool like CapCut and just learn how to do it. When you don't know how to do it, Google it. Someone's done a video on how to use every app or, every way of dealing with social media. So Google it. And I don't know, maybe get some feedback from someone you trust. Probably not your best friend or your mum, but someone who really has your back in business, who can, give you some really honest feedback, and don't ever think of that as a negative. Think, this is how I'm going to learn. Like when I did my keynote, it took me a couple of weeks before I would watch it back because it was just very cringeworthy watching yourself. So then it was only last week I made a coffee, sat down, thought, okay, I'm going to watch it now. No one's home. You're going to be fine. And I thought, you know what, it wasn't that bad, but I did this that I'd like to improve on. Next time I'm going to do that. Next time I'm going to do that. So don't be too hard on yourself. Look at every post, every video, every opportunity as an opportunity to learn and to get better next time.
I love that. That's such great advice. So writing your chapter, you've shared really honest and reflective moments in places. Can you tell us about this experience? Was it emotional? Was it healing? Was it difficult to do this? Tell us about your writing journey.
Yeah, not difficult, but yes, emotional. I remember when I'd sort of written what I would consider a close to final draft, and then I didn't look at it for about a week and a half, because it's always good to have that bit of a break. And then I read it and I welled up with tears twice, and I thought, I've got it. That's where it needs to be. I found it quite cathartic. I wrote most of it in one day, to be honest. I said, okay, today's the day, and it had been mulling around inside my head for a while, and then it just all came out. And it was really great to just take time away from the busyness of the work week and think about your life, your whole, from whatever point I started at 4. You don't have to start at 4. But it was really interesting to look at that and look back at how the decisions I had made to be, I guess, to not share and to be quiet and sit in the background, and how that had affected or had an influence on different parts of my life, particularly my last business, and how I really, I guess, the reality of the cost of remaining silent and small and hiding behind other people what that was to me. I missed out on recognition. I missed out really on recognition for my work. And I think it had a negative impact on then becoming a solopreneur and working on my own. So yeah, it was cathartic. I really enjoyed it. It was also hard in some ways. But yeah, it was a really great experience. It even shaped how I started doing social media posts, because that truth of who I am and where I've come from started to come out, and I started to notice how writing that chapter had a really positive influence on how I was turning up. So yeah, it was a really great experience.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful to hear. Mandy, if you could go back in time to your younger self, what advice would you give her?
Stop worrying. I was such a worrier. I was so anxious. I was diagnosed as having anxiety maybe 10 or 12 years ago, but I didn't really know what it was because that therapist didn't lift it for me. I really only got on top of that last year. And now most mornings I'll take half an hour to meditate before I do anything else. And I used to be the type of person that, I used to get up with the minimal amount of time to get ready before I went out the door. And now I'm up, more than an hour before I need to get up so that I can take that time to meditate and just calm those thoughts. Anyone with anxiety knows what I'm talking about. You get those little thoughts that just go over and over, and it's such a waste of energy, and it's just not a peaceful place to be, pun intended. So yeah, I would say to her, please slow down. When you feel like you don't have enough time, that's when you need to go for a walk. That's when you need to have a long hot bath. That's when you need to meditate. And, those months where it's crazy, that's when you need the weekend away. That's when you need it the most. So, yeah, that's the advice that I would give to my younger self.
I love that. Such great advice. Well, thank you so much, Mandy. It's just been an honor sharing your story in this book, in Resilience and Reinvention. And it's just been such a delight chatting with you today too.
Oh, thank you. Nice chatting with you. Bye.
Thanks, Mandy. All right. I would like to now introduce our next author, Lisa MacArthur-Collins. Please join me on stage.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa. It's wonderful to have you here. For people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful to be here with you today. My name's Lisa MacArthur-Collins. There's kind of two sides to what I do. I am an author, so some of our books are up behind me here. So I've got children's books and middle grade fiction books. They all have a focus around neurodivergence. So the characters in them, a lot of them are autistic, ADHD. I myself am autistic, so I've written from lived experience. But I also have a plushie business as well. So it's called Little Paws Plushies. And what I sell is emotional support plushies. So they are actually might just be easier to show you. So plushies like this, and they can wear a vest that some of them might say emotional support. This one here has autism support plushie written on it. And so they just provide that extra support to young people and adults as well that might just need the extra comfort and something familiar with them all the time. So some people might have an assistance dog because they qualify for them, but a lot of young people, that's not an option. A plushie is a fantastic, easy thing to carry around with you. And yeah, they're so adorable as well. That's what I sell in my plushie business.
I love that. There's such beautiful support tools for kids, and
Yes,
beautiful.
They are.
Yes. Lisa, your title immediately challenges a limiting belief that so many people carry. Do you remember the moment someone first made you feel like being dyslexic meant certain things just weren't possible for you?
I don't think I can remember or pinpoint an exact moment, but definitely just growing up, I just felt limited. I know a lot of teachers would make me feel like I wasn't capable of as much. And I think that's just carried over into adulthood. That belief was just kind of instilled in me. And it just took a lot to actually break that and believe that I was actually capable of so much more.
Yeah, it's amazing how one person's comment or a teacher's attitude can really impact the way we see ourselves and our abilities. What made you decide to not accept that narrative and keep pursuing writing anyway?
Yeah, it took a long time. I think I'm just trying to do quick calculation in my head, which isn't easy because maths is not my strong point, but I think I might have been around 35, 36 when I released my first book. So it took a long time to actually break that. And it's been a part of the autistic community more to realize that there is a need for these things out there, and that, you know, it didn't have to be the perfect polished version of a book that you might pick up in a bookshop, because that's kind of what I thought I needed to be able to write firsthand, not that, you know, there was an editing process and everything that I could go through and there was people out there for that could help. So yeah, it took a long time of pulling those walls down and looking at myself and realizing that, you know, I am creative and I can actually do things, instead of trying to just go out and get jobs and try and, you know, fit into these jobs that are out there in the world that just weren't right for me. So yeah, it's been a long journey. But I'm glad that I finally reached that point of being able to accept that, yeah, regardless of being autistic or dyslexic, I'm capable of a lot.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you had the courage to challenge that narrative. Your chapter is really such a great reminder that there's no one right way to be creative. How has dyslexia shaped the way that you think or create or tell stories? How has it helped you?
Sorry, I think I missed the first part of your question there.
I was just saying that your chapter is a great reminder that there's no one right way to be creative. How has dyslexia helped you be creative?
Yeah. I think one of the things that has really helped me is realizing that other young people that are dyslexic, or maybe they're autistic as well, if they're picking up books that have been written by, well, they could be written by anyone neurotypical, regardless of what they are, but not all these books are designed to be easy to read. And I think that's where I reflected back on what I needed when I was younger, like especially if I talk about my middle grade fiction series. So when I was in my pre-teens, a book that I picked up that was for my age group wasn't really, it wasn't easy for me to read. What I needed was, say, like the bigger text, the just simpler words, but I still wanted that engaging story that related to me. And when I first wrote Ears to Say Hi, like my first middle grade fiction book, I wrote that with that in mind, that what I wanted to read when I was younger. So I've deliberately made sure, like, that the texts are easy. I don't use a lot of there's descriptive words in my stories, but I don't go way overboard with that kind of thing in my scripts, because I just want to try and keep the story a bit simpler and relatable for the children. There are still some illustrations scattered through there as well, because I know if someone is more visual, they can use those illustrations to help them with the story as well. So they're things that, being dyslexic myself, I was able to reflect on and go, hey, this is what I wish I had as a child, so why not create it for the other children out there? And I'd definitely say, yeah, Ears to Say Hi has been my biggest selling books, because, like people that read it say, there's just not a lot out there like that. And so one of the biggest feedback I've got from people is like the bigger size text in the books, that they absolutely love that, and that it's a bit more spaced, so that it's easier for them to read and follow.
Yes, I love that. I love that you've thought about all of that and created a book for kids who were like you when you were at that age.
Yeah.
I imagine that this chapter as well will resonate with a lot of people who've doubted themselves because perhaps they learn differently, or, you know, they have different abilities. What do you hope that readers take away from your story?
Yeah, I hope that they can look, or if they read the story and then look at their own, read the chapter and then look at their own lives, their own stories, and see maybe where they've felt limited or put in certain little boxes due to labels, or maybe what they've felt they're capable of, and see their skills and their talents outside that box, and go, just because the world says like this is how it should be done doesn't mean it has to be done that way. That, you know, there are definitely other ways to go about it. So for me, you know, spoken words, like even this interview right now, is not my strength at all, like speaking verbally, whereas if I can write things down, it is so much better. So that's where, you know, someone might be really great at doing a podcast. Maybe someone has something that they want to say, but podcast's not their strength. Maybe a blog is a better thing for them. So it's just going like, hey, this is my message, this is my story. The world still wants to hear it, but like, how can I do that? So I just, hope that people take away from my chapter that it's okay to be different, and it's okay to do things different to what the world might first try and tell you.
I love that. That's really powerful. If there was one thing, if you could go back to your younger self, maybe when you were in that age of like 13 or 14, what advice would you give her? What would you tell her?
Yeah. I would definitely tell her to embrace being different. But I mean, going back then, like when I was younger, I knew I was dyslexic, but I didn't know I was autistic. So I didn't know why I felt like I didn't fit in. But even back then, I can remember strengths that I did have that were probably more pushed to the side. Whereas if I had the opportunity to more embrace them, then maybe things would have been different for me in those younger years. And just to be kinder to myself. I think that's really important, is just to know that, like, I didn't need to be like everyone else. Who I was completely okay. And just be kinder and more accepting.
Yes, I love that, Lisa. Well, thank you so much. It's just been such an honor sharing your story in Resilience and Reinvention. And I've really enjoyed chatting with you today too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you everyone for tuning in. That concludes our session right now, but I'll be back in a couple of hours to talk to some more of our authors. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you grab a copy of Resilience and Reinvention at the website, wcwpress.com. Thanks, everyone, and bye for now.